Hey guys, how are you today? Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm continuing with my Beatles discography journey, and we've made it to their 8th studio album from 1967 called Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. Are we already on their 8th studio album? Wow, I've listened to 7 Beatles albums already. That's crazy. Now, if I was excited to listen to Rubber Soul for the first time, I was even more amped up to be listening to Revolver for the first time. And honestly, I am more amped up to be listening to this album now than I was Revolver. I was excited to listen to Rubber Soul. I was amped up to listen to Revolver, but this album, I've heard some pretty amazing things about it. From my understanding and from what a lot of people said, this album is their best. I personally don't know how they could top Revolver, but apparently they do. Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band was praised by critics for its innovations in songwriting, production, and graphic design, for bridging a cultural divide between popular music and high art, and for reflecting the interests of contemporary youth and the counterculture. Its release was a defining moment in 1960s pop culture, heralding the Summer of Love, while the album's reception achieved full cultural legitimization for pop music and recognition for the medium as a genuine art form. The album was loosely conceptualized as a performance by the fictional Sgt. Pepper Band, an idea that was conceived after recording the title track. Sgt. Pepper is regarded as an early concept album that advanced the roles of sound composition, extended form, psychedelic imagery, record sleeves, and the producer and popular music. The album had an immediate cross-generational impact. It was associated with numerous touchstones of the era's youth culture, such as fashion, drugs, mysticism, and a sense of optimism and empowerment. It remains one of the best-selling albums of all time, and more than 32 million copies have been sold worldwide as of 2011. When talking about this time in their lives, Paul McCartney said, "We were fed up with being the Beatles. We really hated that fucking four little mop-top approach. We were not boys, we were men, and thought of ourselves as artists rather than just performers." So from my understanding, this album is one of the, if not the most culturally impactful album of the 1960s. Now, some of you wanted me to listen to Strawberry Fields Forever and Penny Lane in this video, but I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna save those two tracks for Magical Mystery Tour. Strawberry Fields Forever and Penny Lane were released as a double A-side single in February of 1967 and left off of the Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band LP. Oh, not to mention that this album won 4 Grammy Awards, including Album of the Year, the first rock LP to receive the honor. Wow. It has topped several critics' lists of being the best album of all time. So I do have extremely high expectations going into this album, but more so than I had for Revolver and Rubber Soul. And I gotta say, I've had high expectations going into albums before on my channel. A lot of praise, a lot of things the album had to live up to, but out of all the albums I've done so far on my channel, I probably have the highest expectations for this album. I'll even go as far as say that perhaps this is one of the most significant videos I've ever done on my channel ever. And I've never said that before in one of my videos. So let's see if it lives up to its legacy. Now, there are 13 tracks on the album. The album is 40 minutes, and I don't recall hearing any of these songs before. So let's get into it with track 1, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. That was track 1, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, and then that progressed into track 2 with a little help from my friends. And usually in these videos, I pause in between songs. It's very rare that I just let the album keep going into the next track, but it felt right to do. I didn't want to pause. Honestly, I didn't even want to pause and stop after the second track. I just wanted to get into the third and fourth. Track 1 was a nice surprise. It sounds different aesthetically from their prior albums. I like the overall vibe. I like the horns. I like Paul McCartney's vocals, especially towards the end. His aggressive vocals and just the overall instrumental was nice. I like the audience cheering. It's like I was at some sort of event. I liked the overall excitement of the track. It sets the tone for what is to come on the rest of the album, I imagine. I absolutely loved the transition into, with a little help from my friends, the hype, the excitement, the audience, and then bam, it progresses into track 2. It flows so nicely into that track. It's like a party. I feel like I'm at some sort of wild, exciting event. It was 20 years ago today, Sgt. Pepper taught the band to play. They've been going in and out of style, but they're guaranteed to raise a smile. So may I introduce to you the act you've known for all these years, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. We hope you will enjoy the show. Sit back and let the evening go. It's wonderful to be here. It's certainly a thrill. You're such a lovely audience. We'd like to take you home with us. And then at the end of the song, there's this introduction to this character, Billy Shears. So let me introduce to you the one and only Billy Shears and Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. I absolutely adore track 2, with a little help from my friends. There's a sense of camaraderie. I get high with a little help from my friends. Gonna try with a little help from my friends. What do I do when my love is away? Does it worry you to be alone? How do I feel by the end of the day? Are you sad because you're on your own? No, I get by with a little help from my friends. Get high with a little help from my friends. On track 1, Paul McCartney serves as the master of ceremonies, welcoming the audience to a 20th anniversary reunion concert by Sgt. Pepper's band, who, led by Lennon, then sang a message of appreciation for the crowd's warm response. The track is described as an overture rather than a song. Yeah, that's what I was trying to explain, I guess, earlier, how I said this song kind of set the tone for, I imagine, what was to come on the rest of the album. Paul McCartney returns as the master of ceremonies near the end of the song, announcing the entrance of an alter ego named Billy Shears. What I also found a little surprising about this track, the second track with a little help from my friends, Ringo Starr is the vocalist, which I wasn't expecting this early on the album. I mean, I'm only 2 tracks into the album so far, and I already want to listen to these tracks again, like, right now. I want to stop recording and just listen to them again. There's definitely a different energy on this album than there was on their prior albums. There's something so joyful, but also there's something quite... there's attitude, I guess. I don't know, I'm picking up some sort of attitude. I can't really put my finger on it, but there's some sort of attitude and just excitement on the album. So let's move on to track 3, Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds.
Picture yourself in a boat on a river, a girl with kaleidoscope eyes. A rocking horse, people with a crow so incredibly high. Newspaper taxis appear on the shore. Hang the back of your head in the light. Lucy in the sky with picture yourself on a train. The girl with the lightest
That was track 3, Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. Another track on the album that I very much enjoyed. I just liked everything about it. Can I just say that? Do I really need to analyze the song and blah blah blah, talk about the lyrics? Can I just enjoy the album? I don't really want to talk about it. I just want to be immersed in the album. And I'm just really enjoying myself. I mean, this is such a stoner song. I won't lie. Especially John Lennon's vocals. When I was listening to this song, I felt like I was in some sort of crowded room and everyone was just sitting smoking pot, and the room was so hazy and smoky and just clouded with smoke. That's all you could smell, just pot. I guess what I'm trying to say is I could smell this song. Despite widespread suspicion that the title of Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds contained a hidden reference to LSD, John Lennon insisted that it was derived from a pastel drawing by his 4-year-old son, Julian. A hallucinatory chapter from Lewis Carroll's 1871 novel, Through the Looking Glass, a favorite of John Lennon's, inspired the song's atmosphere. The lyrics explicitly recreates a psychedelic experience. Now, I will say, I have never tried LSD before, so I don't know what that overall experience is like. John Lennon attributed the song's fantastical imagery to his reading of Alice in Wonderland, like I stated already. And I mean, Alice in Wonderland is, I mean, it's a trippy movie, the Disney one, which I love, but I haven't read the books. But honestly, that guy, Lewis Carroll, he was on something. Or maybe he wasn't. Maybe that's just how his imagination worked. I mean, I can kind of relate to that because my imagination can be quite bizarre and out there sometimes. When talking about the song in 1968, Paul McCartney said, "When you write a song and you mean it one way and someone comes up and says something about it that you didn't think of, you can't deny it. Like Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, people came up and said, cunningly, right, I get it, LSD. And it was when newspapers were talking about LSD, but we never thought about it." Now, a lot of people have said that it's pretty obvious that drugs did influence some of the group's compositions at the time, including in this track. I mean, regardless, whether it's LSD or marijuana, you just feel high when you listen to the song. Newspaper taxis appear on the shore. What I also like about the song are the lyrics. These lyrics are so different from what I'm used to in the Beatles songwriting. It's more complex and more dynamic. The lyrics aren't as simple as quite a few of their other songs from their earliest albums. Picture yourself in a boat on a river with tangerine trees and marmalade skies. Somebody calls you, you answer quite slowly, a girl with kaleidoscope eyes. Look for the girl with the sun in her eyes and she's gone, Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. Follow her down to a bridge by a fountain where rocking horse people eat marshmallow pies. Everyone smiles as you drift past the flowers that grow so incredibly high. So now that I'm actually reading the lyrics, they do sound quite fantastical, and there is something quite Alice in Wonderland-ish about them. So let's move on to track 4, Getting Better.
It's getting better all the time. I used to get mad at my school, turning me around, filling me up with your rules. I have to admit, it's getting better. I used to be angry and mad. I finally heard I'm doing the best that I can all the time. I have to admit, it's getting better. Getting so much better all the time. It's getting better all the time. Apart from the things that you love. Yes, I admit it's getting better.
That was track 4, Getting Better. Another great song on the album. I loved the overall instrumental, just like the other tracks, but this one in particular, especially about halfway through, we hear that psychedelic Indian sound. That's the best way I can explain it. George Harrison added an Indian tambura part to the final verse. The sound of the percussion introduced in this section combines with the tambura to create an Indian mood. It's getting better all the time. I used to get mad at my school. The teachers that taught me weren't cool. You're holding me down, turning me around, filling me up with your rules. Yeah, this is definitely it's very angst. It's very rebellious. I've got to admit, it's getting better. A little better all the time. I like that lyric. The teachers that taught me weren't cool. You're holding me down, man. It's getting better since you've been mine. Used to be an angry young man. Me hiding me head in the sand. You gave me the word I finally heard. You're doing the best I can. I got to admit it's getting better, a little better all the time. It can't get no worse. There really is a sense of optimism on this album so far. Not only the attitude and that rebellious edge to the lyrics and the overall sound, but also the sense of optimism and just things will get better. Referring to some of the lyrics, John Lennon admitted that he had done things in relationships in the past that he was not proud of. Such as, I used to be cruel to my woman, I beat her and kept her apart from the things that she loved. When speaking to Playboy in 1980 for an interview, John Lennon said the lyrics came personally from his own experience abusing women in relationships in the past. I am a violent man who has learned not to be violent and regrets his violence. I will have to be a lot older before I can face in public how I treated women as a youngster. There's also John Lennon's LSD incident during the March 21st, 1967 session, in which producer George Martin added a piano solo to Lovely Rita. John Lennon complained that he did not feel well and could not focus. He had accidentally taken LSD when he meant to take an upper. Unaware of the mistake, Martin took him up to the roof of EMI Studios for some fresh air and returned to Studio 2 where Paul McCartney and George Harrison were waiting. They knew why John was not well, and upon hearing where John was, rushed to the roof to retrieve him and prevent a possible accident. And this is just one of the stories surrounding the album. I imagine there are so many stories like this surrounding not just this album, but all of their albums. Not necessarily dealing with drugs, but just these little interesting events that occurred in the making of their albums. Hell, there are probably things that happen that aren't even public knowledge. But anyway, let's move on to track 5, Fixing a Hole.
I'm fixing a hole where the rain gets in, where it will go. Where it will go. And it really doesn't matter if I'm wrong and right, or I belong and right. Disagree, never win. Wonder why they don't get in my door. There I will go. Send me around, bury me, never ask me why I get past yesterday, and I still go. Fixing a hole where the rain gets in, where it will go.
That was track 5, Fixing a Hole, and I like the story of this song. I like the lyrics. I like what he's singing about, Paul McCartney. I'm fixing a hole where the rain gets in and stops my mind from wandering. Where it will go, I'm filling the cracks that ran through the door and kept my mind from wandering. One of my favorite parts of this track was the overall guitar work And I liked it. Silly people run around, they worry me and never ask me why they don't get past my door. I'm taking the time for a number of things that weren't important yesterday, and I still go. I'm fixing a hole where the rain gets in. Fixing a Hole deals with Paul McCartney's desire to let his mind wander freely and to express his creativity without the burden of self-conscious insecurities. People have described the track as distracted and introverted. In a 1968 interview, Paul McCartney said that the song was about the hole in the road where the rain gets in. A good old analogy, the hole in your makeup, which lets the rain in and stops your mind from going where it will. So let's move on to track 6, She's Leaving Home.
Wednesday morning at 5 o'clock. She goes downstairs to the kitchen, quietly turning the back door key. We gave her most of our lives. We gave her everything. Father snores as his wife picks up the letter. She breaks down and cries to her husband, Daddy. Why would she treat us so thoughtlessly? We never thought of ourselves. She's leaving home after living alone for so. Friday morning at 9 o'clock. Meeting a man from the motor trade. Now it was wrong. Fun is the one thing. Bye.
That was track 6, She's Leaving Home, and I enjoyed this track. Of course, I love the strings. I thought that was a nice surprise. And Paul McCartney's singing also was so magical. I liked his falsetto. Wednesday morning at 5 o'clock, as the day begins, silently closing her bedroom door, leaving the note that she hoped would say more, she goes downstairs to the kitchen, clutching her handkerchief. Quietly turning the back door key, stepping outside, she is free. She's leaving home after living alone for so many years. Father snores as his wife gets into her dressing gown, picks up the letter that's lying there. I think this story is great. It's very intriguing. I like how it unfolds. Standing alone at the top of the stairs, she breaks down and cries to her husband, Daddy, our baby's gone. This is so tragic. But why did the daughter run away? I'm sure it explains it in the song. Home, we struggled hard all our lives to get by. She's leaving home after living alone for so many years. Meeting a man from the motor trade. Fun is the one thing that money can't buy. Something inside that was always denied for so many years. So something was denied inside of her. Fun. And she's meeting up with this man. So maybe she's running away from home because she wanted to be with this man, but her parents wouldn't let her. I don't know, that's kind of my interpretation. Because it says here, she's leaving home after living alone for so many years. So she was living alone with her parents, I guess, and she couldn't be in a relationship, so she was living essentially on her own. But there's this man she loves, and so she seeks out, she runs away to maybe be with this man forever. The lyrics address the problem of alienation between disagreeing peoples, particularly those distanced from each other by the generation gap. Paul McCartney's narrative details the plight of a young woman escaping the control of her parents. It was inspired by a piece about teenage runaways published in the Daily Mail. So this is another track on the album that is quite rebellious. You know, running away from home, my parents, they don't understand me, they don't understand my life, and there's that generation gap. It's not the same. Life and the world isn't the same as it was when you were young, and the world's different now, and this track does fit in with one of the themes of the album, which is this sense of authority and escaping it, and the future is brighter, it will get better. The track is the first of the album's songs to address the crisis of middle class life in the late 1960s. Although Paul McCartney invented most of the content in the song, C-O-E, who was 17 at the time, has said that most of it was accurate. Melanie Coe. That's the name of the girl that the song was based on, who I guess was a teenage runaway. In actuality, Melanie Coe left with her boyfriend. She did not meet a man from the motor trade, although her boyfriend previously had been in that trade. Melanie was found 10 days later because she had let slip where her boyfriend worked. When she returned home, she was pregnant and had an abortion. Overall, I did enjoy this song. I like the story. I like the vocals. I like the overall production. I thought it was nice to listen to. So let's move on to track 7, Being for the Benefit of Mr. Kite.
There will be a show tonight. Old men and horses, hoops and garters, lastly through a hogshead. The Hendersons will dance and sing as Mr. Kite flies through the ring. Don't be late. And of course, Henry the horse dances the waltz. Performs his tricks, and Mr. H will demonstrate 10 somersets he'll undertake on solid ground. Mr. Kite is topping the bill.
That was track 7, Being for the Benefit of Mr. Kite, and this was fun to listen to. I like the overall instrumental. This is a nice continuation of the rest of the album, but in particular track 1, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, has that concert event aesthetic like you're at a circus. The band begins at 10 to 6 when Mr. K performs his tricks without sound, and Mr. H will demonstrate 10 somersets he'll undertake on solid ground. Having been some days in preparation, a splendid time is guaranteed for all, and tonight Mr. Kite is topping the bill. So it looks like Mr. Kite is the top performer in this show. There will be a show tonight on Trampoline. The Hendersons will all be there. Over men and horses, hoops and garters, lastly through a hogshead of real fire. There is a sense of excitement on this track, and I wish I was there. The Hendersons will dance and sing as Mr. Kite flies through the ring. Don't be late. I would love to see this Mr. Kite. John Lennon adapted the lyrics for the song from an 1843 poster for Pablo Fagque's circus that he purchased at an antique shop in Kent on the day of filming the promotional film for Strawberry Fields Forever. He wanted to invoke a circus atmosphere so vivid that he could smell the sawdust. So let's move on to track 8, Within You, Without You. That was track 8, Within You, Without You. Wow. I mean, who needs LSD when you have the Beatles? I definitely forgot I was even recorded for a second there. Definitely the most trippy song on the album thus far. We were talking about the space between us all, and the people who hide themselves behind a wall of illusion never glimpse the truth when it's far too late, when they pass away. We were talking about the love we all could share. When we find it, to try our best to hold it there with our love. No one else can make you change, and to see you're really only very small, and life flows on within you and without you. Not only did I love the overall instrumental of this track, but John Lennon's vocals also. His vocals have a way of putting you in a trance. The song reflects John Lennon's immersion in the teachings of Hindu, while its musical form and Indian instrumentation, such as the sitar, tabla, dilrubas, and tamburas, recalls the Hindu devotional tradition known as bhajan. Bhajan, okay. The song presented Indian classical music to a new audience in the West and contributed to the genre's peak in international popularity. It also influenced the philosophical direction of many of Harrison's peers during an era of utopian idealism marked by the summer of love. Now, some people have called the song lackluster and pretentious, while others admire its musical authenticity and consider the message to be the most meaningful on the album. So it looks like this song is supposed to be very spiritual. And it definitely has that aesthetic, but it's also, for me anyway, it was just a very trippy song. When you see beyond yourself, then you may find peace of mind is waiting there. And the time will come when you see we're all one, and life flows on within you and without you. So I guess it's one of those songs that you either get or you don't get. You either admire what he's singing about, or you find it stupid and pretentious, like some people have stated. Apparently, it's supposed to be a very moving song, and it may move the souls of millions. I mean, this song didn't really move me, I guess, the way it was supposed to. Like, it didn't make me feel something profound or anything like that. I would listen to this song again. I like the overall production. I like the Indian influences, the overall Indian instrumental on this track. But anyway, let's move on to track 9, When I'm 64.
When I get older, losing my head, many years from now, birthday greetings, bottle of wine. If I've been out till 2:45, will you still feed me when I'm 64? You'll be all that time. I could stay with you. You can knit a sweater by the fireside. Sunday mornings go for a ride. Will you still feed me when I'm 64? Look and Dave indicate precisely what you mean to say. You're sincerely wasting away. Will you still feed me when I'm 64?
That was track 9, When I'm 64, and I thought this was a cute song. I like the overall production of this track. It's quite upbeat and cheerful. It puts that extra oomph in your step, I guess. When I get older, losing my hair many years from now, will you still be sending me a Valentine? Birthday greetings, ball of wine. If I've been out till 2:45, would you lock the door? Will you still need me when I'm 64? You'll be older too. And if you say the word, I could stay with you. I like the lyrics of this track. I like the story. And it's quite lovely. It's not one of my favorites on the album. I wouldn't really listen to it all the time. For me anyway, I really don't want to listen to a song about getting older. Leave a comment. Tell me if you're 64. When I'm 64 is a song aimed chiefly at parents. Now, the genre of the song is music hall and vaudeville. It definitely stands on its own when it comes to all the other tracks. It does sound different from all the other songs I've listened to already. The song was recorded in a different key to the file recorded. It was sped up at the request of Paul to make his voice sound younger. It was one of the first songs written by Paul, who wrote it when he was 14. The song is sung by a young man to his lover and is about his plans of their growing old together. It is a sweet song, it's a romantic song, but it's also a little sad because he's asking the question, will you still need me? Will you still love me when I'm older, when I'm 64? I'm gonna make a pact with myself that when I do turn 64, I will listen to this song, which won't be for another 33 years. Oh god, where will the world be in 33 years? What year will that be? 2054? Oh my god. Hopefully by then, some sort of anti-aging serum has been discovered. But anyway, let's move on to track 10, Lovely Rita.
Standing by a parking meter when I caught a glimpse of Rita, made her look a little like a military man. When you need to take some tea with me, Rita. Took her out and tried to win her, and I left and over dinner.
That was track 10, Lovely Rita, and I like the overall instrumental of this track. There was also some sort of strange breathing at the end, some sort of panting. I don't know if that was some sort of audio manipulation. It could have been an instrument, but it was like... or something. It was like a... Lovely Rita, meter maid, lovely Rita. Nothing can come between us. When it gets dark, I tow your heart away. Oh, I tow your heart away. Meter maid, lovely Rita, standing by a parking meter. I took her out and tried to win her, had a laugh, and over dinner told her I would really like to see her again. Got to bill, and Rita paid it. Took her home. I nearly made it, sitting on the sofa with a sister or two. Oh, lovely Rita, meter maid. So it's about this girl, Rita. He took her out to dinner. And sitting on the sofa with a sister or two. Where would I be without you? Give us a wink and make me think of you. Lovely Rita is a work of full-tilt psychedelia that contrasts sharply with the preceding track. It's from Paul McCartney's inspiration from learning that the American term for a female traffic warden was a meter maid. Okay. There's a piano solo, and also there's panting and groaning and other vocalized sounds. The track represents the showstopper in the Pepper Band's repertoire, a funny, sexy, extroverted song that comes closer to the spirit of rock and roll than anything else on the album. When asked why he called her Rita, Paul McCartney replied, well, she looked like a Rita to me. Now, apparently Lovely Rita and When I'm 64 were the songs that would have been cut from the album had the Beatles not been pressured into issuing Strawberry Fields Forever and Penny Lane as a non-album single in advance of the album's release. So if they included Strawberry Fields Forever and Penny Lane on this album, it looks like they would have axed this track, Lovely Rita and When I'm 64. It's definitely a fun song to listen to, just like the prior track, When I'm 64. I like the story, it's cute. I would listen to it again, but it's not one of my favorites on the album. I am enjoying the second half of the album, but I will say I do prefer the first half. I guess disc 1 over this part 2. So let's move on to track 11, Good Morning, Good Morning.
Nothing to do to save his life, call his wife. Nothing to do, it's up to you. Good morning, yeah. Going to work, go on. Everybody knows there's nothing doing. Everything is cold, it's like a ruin. After a while, you start to smile now. Nothing has changed, it's still the same. Somebody needs to know the time black as I'm here. Go to a show, you hope she goes. I've got nothing to say.
That was track 11, Good Morning, Good Morning, and definitely not a song you want to hear in the morning when you wake up. It's quite chaotic. It's, I guess, the most chaotic song on the album thus far. And lots of interesting sounds. It's quite noisy, but I still like the overall production. I like the guitars. We hear roosters, we hear dogs barking, and other animals and screeching. Essentially, it's like waking up in a barn. Nothing to do to save his life, call his wife, and nothing to say. But what a day, how's your boy been? Nothing to do, it's up to you. I've got nothing to say, but it's okay. Going to work, don't want to go, feeling low down, heading for home. You start to roam, then you're in town. Everybody knows there's nothing doing. Everything is closed, it's like a ruin. Everyone you see is half asleep. And you are on your own, you're in the street. After a while, you start to smile, but you feel cool. Then you decide to take a walk by the old school. So it's kind of like a day in the life of this person. People running around, it's 5 o'clock. And then it's time for tea and meet the wife. I've got nothing to say, but it's okay. Good morning. Watching the skirts, you start to flirt, now you're in gear. It just seems like he's wandering around this town during a day. John Lennon was inspired to write the song after watching a television commercial for Kellogg's Corn Flakes, the jingle from which he adapted for the song. The song perfectly expresses John's grievance against complacency. I love the guitar work on this track, and I thought it was quite intriguing to listen to, and I actually liked it. I would listen to it again, even though it's not the most pleasant song to listen to at times, just with the rooster and the dogs barking. It can be quite chaotic and noisy. The sound of a chicken clucking overlaps with a straight guitar note at the start of the next track, creating a seamless transition between the two songs. Oh! I guess I should have listened to both these tracks back to back. Good Morning, and then Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, the reprise. Oh, okay, there it is.
on my coat, I grabbed my hat, made the bus in seconds flat. I read the news today, oh boy, though the holes were rather small.
That was tracks 12 and 13, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, the reprise. And then that progressed into the final track, A Day in the Life. Track 12 is essentially the outro of the album. They're saying goodbye. We hope you have enjoyed the show. Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, we're sorry, but it's time to go. So they're saying goodbye, they're thanking the audience and the listeners and the viewers. We'd like to thank you once again. It's getting very near the end. That's sad. I really don't want this experience to end. Now, track 13, A Day in the Life, is a different beast entirely. Those transitions, very ominous, and it's very cinematic too. It's like it goes from light to dark with Paul McCartney's vocals and the more cheerful production, but then it slows and there's that build-up of that ominous, spooky, creepy part. I read the news today, oh boy, about a lucky man who made the grade, and though the news was rather sad, well, I just had to laugh. I saw the photograph. He blew his mind out in a car. He didn't notice that the lights had changed. A crowd of people stood and stared. They'd seen his face before. Did he blow his brains out in his car? He blew his mind out in the car. So did this guy kill himself in his vehicle, waiting at a traffic light? A crowd of people stood and stared. Nobody was really sure if he was from the House of Lords. I saw a film today, oh boy, the English army had just won the war. A crowd of people turned away, but I just had to look. I don't really know the story of the song. I'm trying to figure out, and I'm having a little bit of difficulty. The song consists of 4 verses by John, and a middle part written and sung by Paul McCartney. The first crescendo serves as a segue between the third verse and the middle part, leading to a bridge known as the Dream Sequence. The song is a postlude to the Pepper fantasy that sets all the other songs in perspective, while shattering the illusion of Pepperland by introducing the parallel universe of everyday life. The track is described as a song not of disillusionment with life itself, but of disenchantment with the limits of mundane perception. Ah yes, the song ends with that high frequency tone. That tone that annoys dogs. It's very high pitched. And then after that we hear random laughter and gibberish from the audience, I guess. John Lennon can be heard saying, "Been so high," followed by Paul McCartney's response, "Never could be any other way." In a 1980 interview, John Lennon stated that his compositions had nothing to do with the Sgt. Pepper concept, adding, "Sgt. Pepper is called the first concept album, but it doesn't go anywhere. It works because we said it worked." I liked the overall track just because it's so intriguing to listen to and unexpected. And I would listen to it again. I mean, the Beatles really know how to end an album. This isn't the first time I've been shook with the final track from one of their albums. So that was all 13 tracks of Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, and this was great. I liked the overall concept, even though at times I was a bit perplexed, and I will be honest, I still am. It's definitely one of those albums you can't really fully grasp with just one sitting or just one listen. It's one of those albums you really have to revisit to fully grasp everything. A lot of unexpected moments when it came to everything: the songwriting, the overall instrumental, the compositions, and also their vocals too. I liked the idea of this Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band and this event, this show, circus, whatever you want to call it. I liked the overall songwriting on this album, at times quite complex, and definitely, I don't want to say a vast improvement over some of their other albums, but the lyrics are more creative than some of the other albums they've done in the past. A lot of amazing guitar work, and I liked the orchestra on some of these tracks. There was also influences from Indian classical music, which was introduced to Western people back in the 1960s, North America. I think I do prefer the first half of the album over the second half. But overall, the album keeps you engaged the entire time. What's gonna happen next? What are they gonna play around with next? What are we gonna hear? What are their vocals gonna sound like? What are they gonna try? So it keeps you on your toes and eagerly anticipating the next song. I will say though, this isn't my favorite Beatles album of all time thus far. I think I still prefer Revolver over this album. I don't see myself listening to this album as much as Revolver or even Rubber Soul. Do I think this is the greatest album of all time? Is it the greatest album I've ever listened to? No. It definitely deserves all the praise it received. It deserved being one of the best-selling albums of all time, but I personally don't think it's the greatest album of all time. I wasn't as blown away with this album as I was with Revolver, but I still thoroughly enjoyed myself. I like the overall concept. I like the overall instrumental. I like the overall songwriting and their vocals. A very highly intriguing album, and I would listen to it again, just not as much as some of their prior albums. I can appreciate, though, what it meant for music back in the 1960s and what it did, especially for the Summer of Love and how culturally impactful it was. The Beatles were leaders of youth culture as well as lifestyle revolutionaries. The album seems to have spoken in a way no other has for its generation. So what do you guys think of the album and what are your impressions? Maybe this is your favorite Beatles album. Maybe it's your favorite album of all time. Tell me why in the comments. What are your favorite parts of the album and what are the highlights? What are your favorite songs and what are your favorite moments from the album? I mean, I guess if you could wrap up the 60s as a whole, this album perfectly encapsulates what the 60s represented. So I think that's all I have to say on the album. I'm sure there's a lot more I could say, but I think I said everything I wanted to. So that's that, and we will move on to the next Beatles album, which is Magical Mystery Tour from 1967. And finally, I will be able to listen to Strawberry Fields Forever and Penny Lane. There's so much hype surrounding these two tracks in particular, so I can't wait to listen to them. But anyway, thanks for watching, guys. You can find me on Twitter, you can find me on Instagram, you can message me, you can say, hey, how are you? And I'll see you next time. Take care.